Since the introduction of our first tape and packet, which we titled Freedom Black Freedom, many things have happened here in the wilderness of North America and around the world. Soulful Chastisement is a continuous, ongoing part of the black man's truth, knowledge, and divine wisdom here in the wilderness of North America. Soulful Chastisement is written by and for black folks in America and is not conceived for the purpose of spiritual folly, mired in hypocrisy. The demands, statements, and conclusions will be crystal clear. We hope you question. We hope you investigate, as this is serious business and time is late. It doesn't matter, nor do we care what station you presently hold in life, in this wilderness. Big trouble is your mountain. That which most of us laughed at in the 60s as we sold out our God and spiritual truth for integration, fun and games, is here. Armageddon. We are told that a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Yet we watch the black nation from within this nation crumble into insanity. Broken homes, decaying schools, herpes, AIDS, dope, suicide, lies, and deceit. There is little or no creativity or righteous thought process. After our Holocaust, touring and on this way to this land, let us examine our foundation, which we are told is the Constitution of the United States. Some of us argue that because some of us shed our blood and died, we were born here, we pay taxes here, that the Constitution and the land belongs to us. The fact is, in its original intent, the Constitution was written by and for Europeans. White Europeans. To them, it's a living contract, an instrument that meant what it said when it was written and adopted. What it meant then, it means now. It meant that slaves and their descendants were and are property, which is why we call the actions of today's inheritors institutionalized racism. It established that the original intent was and is a white person's document. If this is not so, why is there so much discontent among the people, both black and white, as well as others? I wasn't the slave paid once they claimed slavery was over. What was the slave equipped to do? With nothing. The nature of civil rights implies citizenship. After much thought, experience, and research, we have come to the conclusion that we are not citizens, but cannon fodder to be used, even by many of our own, who we now recognize as Judas sellout.
So-called black leadership whine and cry because their friends and idols are no longer interested in their fakery, as they cut off the money they've been getting in the name of blackness and black folk. Now that the majority of black folk have been sold out and their leaders are not receiving their required crumbs, why they're crying, we too are an endangered species. Just who's kidding whom? Our leaders, past and present, have been telling us for years that this land and the Constitution is ours, even though we came to these shores under the conditions of a Holocaust unheard of in the universe. Now, when the Constitution was framed and adopted, the black male was property, an animal. And like the white female, the black woman was nothing and had no rights. So just who's kidding whom? You're brought up to believe, to know that there's a right and wrong, love and hate, truth and justice embedded in the marrow of the bones, deep in the spirit of divine creation. As we grow, develop, gain in experience and knowledge, we come to know the truth, the reality of it all. Some grow up, some never do, and we're all not of the same kind and divine spark. Yet, there are sellouts among us who would and do insist on the opposite being true. They know that prophecy in God Almighty is real. Elohim, Supreme Lord of the living Most High God, and the Book of Life is real. But they choose not to go through the fire and stand alone in judgment. They want amnesty in Jesus and a sacrifice in what they call this new age of truth for the educated elite and the new order of things. What then is the black man's foundation? What do we do with the insights of prophecy and revelation? What do we do with the insights of Delaney, Wahim, Garvey, and Vernon Johns, just to name a few? Even Elijah Muhammad tried.
To the White House, President of the United States, George Bush. Dear Mr. President, this letter and the packet of information enclosed is to let you and the world know that since our first communication in 1968, which included the Congress and Senate, our purpose and demands have not changed one iota. Those Judas sellouts and coloreds from within and without your circle who are hiding out as black men of merit have no solutions to your country's problems, and they never will have. They don't have the knowledge, wisdom, or balls to stand for what is real and true. The only thing they can do is to lead you and your kind, as your kind has led them, into the pits of despair. The faithful black men and women in this country who have suffered and endured for themselves and their kind for justice and freedom with real independence know that this is not our land, nor the system that governs it. A man or a people stand as they are and should not be housed forever in another man's house, especially when the two know there is no equality among them. Prophecy knows there can be no respect nor any truth in such an unbalanced situation. Mr. President, we are told that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and we agree. When we look at history, we are being told and forced to believe that we came into something as savages from nowhere, and that we are to put a roof on this house without a foundation. We know that the land of the blacks from where we were taken is ours. You know it today as the continent of Africa. You also know that when the Constitution was created and adopted, white folks did not have black folks in mind. To continuously skirt the true issue of the age is pure folly, and in the end, prophecy knows will cause total destruction all over. The Emancipation Proclamation couldn't and didn't free black folks, nor amendments to the Constitution do it. If your top lawyers and judges were to examine the real law in the light of truth and justice, they will tell you this. If you ask those black Judas sellouts up there, we know you're in big trouble, because all they want is money, and they'll dance to your tune like a bunch of sissies all year long, magnifying a system in a land that's not even theirs and a people they feel nothing for. Wisdom knows that when you free a people from the bondages of slavery and torment, as the blacks have suffered in this land, you give them those tangible things which all people need to reestablish themselves, here or elsewhere. A few of your hand-picked coloreds cannot speak for the solutions to this dilemma, especially since black folks or their representatives did not ratify their continuous enslavement. Land in the form of 40 acres, $50 and a mule is nothing more or less than restitution and reparations earned. Today we see justice in the form of land, here for those who want it, and on the land of the blacks for those who want to leave. Other things tangible to go along with this we see in the form of seeds of all kinds and nature, fruits, vegetables, wheat, trees of all types, certain forms of animals, farming equipment, well digging equipment, building equipment for our homes, medical and hospital supplies, communication equipment, civil engineering equipment for the construction of our roads, bridges, canals, and public utility, mechanic and transportation equipment, and all other things necessary for the homemaker to run her home properly. Also gold and silver, plus interest compounded from the point of the Emancipation Proclamation at the present going rate, and whatever else is required to make black folks sovereign and free. This demand is and always has been spiritual, divine, and just. Failing in this, we see nothing but total destruction. This document was sent to the President of the United States, dated March the 14th, 1990, by Mr. Reuben Beckles.
A mind is a terrible thing to waste, they said. But try and reason with some of our leaders and talk a little common sense, and you'll get nothing but hot air and multiculturalism. Doubts of rampant racism that's been institutionalized, and we're all American. That it's dope that's killing us. They tell us to get a good education so we can get a good job, to benefit all who live in and are part of a system that's killing us. They say we're all God's children, one big melting pot, until they watch the alien Mexicans and Latins, Asians and Europeans, along with the cream of the crop from Africa, move in. Then it's a whole new story. I would like to ask the following questions, and not for fun and games. Who prints and controls the money we use as a medium of exchange? Who makes the materials for the clothes we wear? And where does the materials come from? Who grows the food we put on our table? Who brings it to the market by truck or train? Who makes the truck and train? Where does the materials come from? Who grows the timber and makes the brick we use to make and build our homes? Who runs and builds the communication systems we use? Where does the materials come from? How do we get the water, gas, and light we use? Who controls the security forces from within and out of this land, and for whose interest? Who made the laws of this land? And if not for you as a free person, whom? Why must we always be in the center of what is called racism, and be on the front line of brotherhood and love of all mankind, when we know we live around people who have no respect for us? Why must we perpetuate the big lie to ourselves and others just to take pride in being the first. First on the line field of life. First on our block or community. First from the family to graduate from college. First on a particular job. First to die on the battlefield. First to enter a church. First to break down segregation. First to marry a white man or woman called marrying up. First lawyer, judge, politician, cabinet minister, educator, baseball, football, basketball player. First track and field man. The list of firsts is endless. I ask these questions because if we have no land that as a people we control, what is my future as a young man? What is our future as a people?
All sane people want, or at least should want, independence, justice, and freedom. The Martin Delaney's, the Marcus Garveys, the Booker T. Washingtons, the Raymond Beckles, or Quahim, which means the sustainer and maintainer of the truth, the Vernon Johns, the Elijah Muhammad, just to name a few, understood the situation of black folks and the need for land and a strong foundation. Do we? Perhaps we want a continuous sacrifice without our own direct participation. If we're going to solve our problems, we must not allow pretenders and phonies to call the shots in the name of blackness without question. History and the facts show us that many of our so-called leaders, elders, mothers and fathers, politicians, educators, lawyers, business people, pretend leadership, but are phonies to the marrow of the bone. Like many of the ministers, they seek nothing but a pocket full of gold. They'll talk black, sleep white, and play the multicultural game of just being human and brotherhood in the Tower of Babel, while telling us that it's our country and our system to change. Who's kidding whom? In this culture and money-hungry society, you can get fame and glory, along with all the necessities for living, if you play the games, give up your soul, and keep your head in the sand. Claim the black man is nothing except to be used, while the black woman can do no wrong. He's everything. He's the backbone of the man and the children, head of the house and the nation, even though a multitude of the children she raises are out of hand, causing many of these heads to be living in fear. Yet, he's the head on the job front. He's the head of man. She wears the pants, but she's got more than any man in the nation she raised as beggars. What then is the black man's foundation in what is called this new age, this new order of things? Just a little while ago, in the name of Black History Month, 30 hours of airtime was devoted to African American history in the name of black folk. The rhetoric remained constant, but there was no action taken. The people remained in the same potholes of despair. Why? Could it be that they don't understand the depth of their leaders' spiritual sellout? Or perhaps we do, knowing all the sellouts want are crumbs. We are told that anyone can be an African, but anyone cannot be a black man in and on the land of the black. History and experience is a great teacher of knowledge and truth. Most Negroes or African Americans have a great difficulty in dealing with the term black. Creoles, mulattoes, octrones, quatrones do not consider themselves black. And do the sellouts could care less, as as long as the money doesn't get funny. Color doesn't matter, they say. We're all just human beings. That's because they have no spiritual wisdom, no solutions to the dilemma we face. However, when Black Power came to the forefront in the 60s with Divine Power, which was Jacob's seed and the spiritual Holy Ghost, these phonies saw a few crumbs were to be had. So, they all became black. They took the hot dog, the job, while others became instant celebrities on TV and in the newsprint, radio. Even the Asians, the Mexicans, who were Caucasians up to that point, said, "We black too." No one wants to be who they really are. History and the facts show the black man did not cause the color problem. His fault was that he saw them all as brothers and loved them one and all. But they felt nothing for him, trying to wipe him from the face of the earth for their satanic fathers. Crying the woman is the head of the house and the Holy Ghost, which they don't understand, was a joke. Nothing. That's funny. The people who give her so much praise today scorn her and said she was a witch and nothing yesterday. They beat, kick, stomp, electrocute her with cattle prods and cut babies from her womb because she had sex with her man. She was property of the Caucasians. Today, in many cases across this land, this same black female will have children by the same Caucasian or others and drop those children in the black community on the black man and say, "That's a black love child." Since when do these other folks produce the original melon in a black child or the black genetic blueprint for our own spiritual solution as laid down from the foundation of the planet Earth in philosophy and prophecy? That is why the push for integration, why the black homes are torn apart, because the solution is divine and black. It's his birthright wanted by others. So whom does this woman think she's kidding when she dropped the enemy's children in the black man's lap as a black love child?
Just who's kidding whom? Tell some experienced truth and put forth some wisdom with possible solutions for your life through, and you can forget it if it doesn't make everyone free. And yet, the knowledge and solution remains for black folk. Reparations and restitution as it relates to the land of the blacks is indeed our solution if we say that we are men and women who want to be free, who want a real future for our sons and daughters. Why do you think you get laughter, static, and so much nativity when this question and possible solution arises, while you'll never get an in-depth conversation concerning the merits of such solutions? It's because of the Judas sellouts who don't have the guts to effect such solutions. A spiritual sellout is a terrible thing, and much more profound when you get caught. Didn't Judas commit suicide? Going home among yourselves in kind is the real choice, instead of begging and crying, catching hell where you're not wanted. You would have been put in the position to build and create a civilization second to none, because the land has it all, and the people are you. Your enemies know it. That's why they're there, on the land, talking politics and buying your land and people with your knowledge and money, while they have you looking for a sacrifice in a dream. Just who's getting home? We are reminded of Dr. Du Bois, the educator whom black folk love to talk about as their hero. This was a man who was always coming down on Booker T. Washington and thought nothing of Marcus Garvey's Back to Africa movement. He was an intellect, a Harvard graduate, an integrationalist like many in our present-day society. Now, after the death of Marcus Garvey, Du Bois' liberal friends and colleagues let him down. And around the age of 90, he denounced his American citizenship and left these shores for the land of the black, where he settled in Ghana. You know he died in 1963 there. Why did it take him so long to see the light? Everyone is concerned about and talking change, while your leaders have you talking love and brotherhood. Have you working for your enemies who now claim to be your soulful friends, when it's nothing more than a rip-off of the black man? Open your eyes and let the blind see what the future holds for you as you play this insane game of the blind don't see, while your leaders figure out ways to fight racism and talk love of all mankind. Just who's kidding whom? These same sellout Judases and pimps have your sons and daughters going all over the world, murdering and killing, plundering those folks in distant lands as the war goes on right in your own backyard. The Rodney Kings are beaten beyond all moral perception. That's just one case seen on camera. What about the ones you don't see multiplied across the land 1,000 times a day, a week, a year? Of course the war goes on, but for whose benefit? The young girl got her head blown off in Los Angeles. There you sit, you cry, you march, you talk. But do you love and respect one another enough to hold hands, stay with one another? You're kidding whom? The conspirators and sellouts are but one check away from the streetwalkers and the homeless who feel nothing about breaking up families in the dark. But when the payoff money gets funny, it's racism. And we're all in the same game. We're all the same. Who's kidding whom? Those who meant you well and loved you, you laughed at and ridiculed. To prove your worth, you joined the conspirators of the organizations only to find they lost their wisdom to greed and money. There you sit, scratching your head, wondering, where do I go from here? To those who have a long history of envy, jealousy, greed, hatred of God himself, or to those who have infected you with the killer diseases, those whom have lynched and castrated you, and cut babies from your wombs. Perhaps you go to those who took your land and destroyed your families in the name of brotherhood and religion. To those who create obstacles and sell you rotten foods and keep you in hospitals and jails. Do you buy certain degrees of life that you don't understand but think as a class you have a right to rule? Are you fearful that you don't understand? And that in the end, all you will have left is a knife and a gun that in the end will leave you naked and full of tears? That you'll have to pay for the hell you created without amnesty. Perhaps you run to get an honorarium of the 33rd degree conferred on you by the church. Christ received his honor by taking an action and doing something of value for his kind. How much money and fame did he receive? Is not the numbered years that he lived and taught before he was sold out, creating his physical death for crimes he did not commit? How can the church confer upon you a degree of spiritual action that was not taken by you? What then is the real knowledge and the wisdom therein? One cannot tempt their way into the true real degree. You will find in the end no solution, no justice. Perhaps you run to the Greek goddess who sold her God and black king out for fame and pay. That is no more. Perhaps you choose the Egyptian goddess Isis, who thought by using her sex, the tarot cards, and metaphysical knowledge through the Book of the Dead, she could destroy the black king and take his spirit, thereby rendering his God dead to him. For her trickery, though she failed, and she was unveiled as she ran into hell. Perhaps you go to the black man of Jacob's seed, whom you gave no choice, had but one way out. Through the fire and the eye of the Holocaust, into the eye of the pyramid, upstream to the King's Highway, he entered the door and the book of life. A divine decision was received from the Black God Almighty himself. So now, where do you go from here? Many years ago, the people whom most of the world recognize today as the original Jews, Hebrews, and Israelites of the Scriptures came into our community selling merchandise while buying many of the old Bibles which had been in our families for years. Some of these Bibles were as much as 1.5 feet high and were stolen. Sometime later, when these Bibles were revised by them, they were resold to you with their versions of you and your kind while they held on to the old, knowing their true value. Gog and Magog got so bold with the Judah sellouts in the pulpit until they said prophecy was nothing. They were the head. That they were you and you had no history. That is until 1968 and the One-Day War. Recently, they reached down into the land of the blacks, known to us as Abyssinia or Ethiopia, and took out 17 to 30,000 Jews, black, and took them to what is called Israel's territory, stating they were from the tribe of Dan, by the original house of Israel. Jacob was black. Who's kidding whom? The current state known as Israel today is not a divine state in relation to prophecy. It's a secular state for Satan and his Judah sellouts here in America. The Caucasians who are painted in your religious houses today are not of the scriptures of the Bible and are not the original, nor did they originate in the Jordan area. They adopted what is called Judaism. They are from the Caucasian area of Russia and Turkey around the Caspian and Black Sea area. This accounts for their held in what is called the Middle East and North Africa today. The pretenders are all trying to claim the Godhead, pushing for their day with and in Armageddon. And that includes the land of the blacks.
How can there be forgiveness for a conspiracy?
What is our future?
Thank God for the tree of life.
Just who's kidding whom? The conspirators know they gave up their foundation and head along with the truth in their future. Justice knows the charge is conspiracy to commit God killing. Every book has a beginning, middle, and end. Just like in life, east, west, north, and south.
To learn how you can receive additional copies of Soulful Chastisement along with Freedom Black Freedom,
go to our website at www.booksmusic.com. That's www.booksmusic.com.
Your comments are welcomed regarding Soulful Chastisement. We are told that hell is truth seen. Too late. You be the judge.